The Business Owners Podcast is brought to you by Business, Business, Business and Enever Group with your hosts, Reed-Enever and Clive Enever. In each episode, we talk to other business owners about their experiences, challenges and successes. We'll also share tips and advice on how to grow your business and achieve your goals. If you're a business owner or you're thinking about starting a business, then the Business Owners Podcast is for you.
Hi everyone, my name is Reed-Enever and welcome to the Business Owners Podcast. Today we are being joined by a guest that we've known for many years, haven't we, Clive?
We have indeed.
And that is Amber Daines. Amber Daines is an absolute expert when it comes to the world of PR, marketing, brand reputation and brand management. And as we have watched our kids grow up together, we've also watched our businesses grow up together. So it's been an absolute honour to have Amber here today. Amber, would you like to introduce yourself to our community and just say a little bit of a hello and let them know a little bit about your background?
Thanks, Linda. Indeed, we have known each other for almost 2 decades, which is a bit wild when you think about it. Amber Daines is my name. I was a former news journalist. I worked in online newspapers and TV, and then I moved into what we used to call the dark side of corporate communications about 18 years ago, and that's what I do today. But obviously, as we know, comms is changing. So I'm a podcaster, I'm a crisis comms expert, I'm a strategist, all the things to do with comms. That's me.
Fantastic. Welcome on board. Clive, I don't like the fact that when we can say things like 2 decades, I only want to claim 21 years in this game.
For some of us, 2 decades isn't very long. So
we won't be ageist here.
But the important thing is that across those 2 decades, Amber, you've grown. You haven't actually deteriorated one bit.
That's right, like a fine wine.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Getting better all the time.
Fantastic. So, Amber, we talk about stories here on the Business Owners Podcast. You and I came together when we were first running the publication Family Capers. We'd come across, you'd had some clients, we'd had some clients, and we worked together from those journeys. We were mums in business together with little babies and all of those sorts of things. I reckon it'd be really cool right now to give those mums in business who were starting out like we were with the toddlers and the kids behind us coming out maybe from the corporate world, one tip that you think that you would have wished you knew when you were starting in business with a little person as well.
You will eventually sleep was probably my first one because I felt like it was pretty tiresome. But also I think the idea is think about the long game. So I think a lot of us, especially if you've left a corporate job or a secure paid employment, start a small business, you think the hours are going to work around you, but obviously things happen. So I would just say, don't necessarily think you have to have everything sorted early. You can maybe just say, I'm only available 2 days a week initially. And then obviously as your kids get older and your responsibilities shift and they're more independent, you can grow that. I think I wanted to replace 5 days a week with 5 days a week or plus. And I probably burnt out quite early on in my first incarnation of my business. So my tip would be just look after yourself a little bit more and realise that you're there for the long haul, really.
Absolutely. That's how we are doing almost 2 decades in business together. I think the other thing, guys, is to understand that even when things move and change within your business or your life changes. I know when I became a business owner, I came from a family full of employees. No one was expecting this to work or do anything like that, apart from the fact that Clive and I both looked after other people's businesses. No one expected it to work. So just remember, your friends and family are not your clients. That would be the number one tip that I would give all small business owners, because I know I was having a baby and I'm having mum and I'm having children. I'm having all these conversations with people and people are going, that's not going to work. But they weren't my target market. So also that's a really key thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Clive, what about you? You've done it a few times. What do you do with kids in business?
The best thing to do with kids in business is sit them on your knee. Yeah,
Except for when you're recording a podcast, Clive, that can get a little bit hectic.
Clive, how old was Charlotte when she knew how to turn on your laptop and you didn't know?
About 2.5 or something.
Not even that. She wasn't. She was 18 months old and she turned his laptop on in a hotel room because he left it on the...
Yes. So sit them on your knee as long as your knee is not near the keyboard. We've all seen the TV showing of a fellow being interviewed about particular things and his kiddies managed to get into the office where he was speaking from and the frantic mum racing in to take the kiddies away. I figured the best thing that could have happened there was he could have picked his kiddies up and sat them on his knee and said, hello, this is my kiddies, because it takes away all the fear of who's this horrible person on the other side of this screen. Oh, he's just a dad or she's just a mum. And of course I say just, which is not fair because every mum's special, every dad's special. And we need to look at them that way and appreciate all of that. Going back to what Amber said about making time for yourself, that's probably the number one. You're going into a business, you better start having looked at yourself and understand who you are and what are your values? What's your mission in all of this? What's your vision in all of this? If you know those three things, you'll make your business work or not start.
Fair point. That is a media example of when there would have been a comms person or a publicist in the background going, oh my God, the child just walked into the room. How is it? What are your thoughts? Our thoughts were very similar as a team here. Obviously, we've got a team of PR and comms people inside here. Our thoughts were like, just let the kid come in. It was a human moment. It was publicity you couldn't buy for that story. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm sure. And as I remember it, I think it was when we all were adjusting during the pandemic to Zoom meetings, live crosses for media clients that we had. A lot of our clients used to go into studios, couldn't do that anymore. So I feel like there's a bit of forgiveness in the fact no one really knew how that was all going to work or what the expectation was. Do we have to pretend we are not with our family? Do we have to, like I do, have a green screen up and sort of blur those lines in a way that's, no, this can't happen? But yeah, I think that particular example is a great one of how you have to be agile and flexible. And my belief is things have changed a lot. You probably have both observed that too. 20 years ago, it was almost like, it reminds me of Annabelle Crabb's quote in that book, The Wife Drought. You had to like work like you don't have a family and then parent like you don't have a job. Now, I think we've moved on from that, thankfully. And people like that. I mean, I have worked with a lot of CEOs in media training and things like that, where they'll literally say, I've got a hard stop at 4, I'm going to my kids' soccer training. And that's great. That just wouldn't have happened 20 years ago.
Absolutely not. Not in our game. Not in our game at all. And I think that's most probably one of the things, Clive, we can say with the youngpreneurs section coming into business. It's part of what Charlotte and I have been leading on is allowing young people, because I don't know what Amber's thoughts are, but I know when in the small country town I grew up in, business ownership, unless I was going to own a cafe or a florist or something like that, was never an option. It was never something that you would consider, let alone running something like we do now. And the technology, like the social media, the online web presence has put it all within our fingertips to be able to do those sorts of things. So I think we are coming full circle and we're starting to accept that business owners have families.
Yeah, and flexibility could be not just because of your family being part of the sandwich generation, caring for elderly parents and having those responsibilities, being able to be honest about that, but obviously still get the work done. So that's the thing. I'm always, even with my team, we all work remotely. There's a lot of trust involved in that. And I don't mind flexibility, but you still have to get the job done. But, I'm not fast what time you start and what time you finish. But if there are deadlines, as we know with media, that never stops.
We got to meet
those deadlines, do the client meetings, and then go off and do your Pilates or have your long weekend or whatever it is. But it's always got to be coming with a bit of trust in that equation as well.
Yes, and I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is they say, my business is not my life is not my business. I look at that and I say, why are you doing either? Because if you're pretending that your business is not part of your life, you're saying that you're doing something with which you are not aligned. And if you are not aligned with it, it's going to be stressful. You're going to die early. Or if you stay here, you're going to be in pain a lot. Whatever it is that you're doing needs to align with you. And so if you have kiddies, why should the people you do business with know about it? Because at the end of the day, they probably have kiddies too. And that gives you something that you have in common. I like to look at life. Your life is driving your business. Your business is part of your life. Let's not have your business driving your life.
Clive, you've seen many of my clients where I'm bringing in little guinea pigs or birds or something to make sure that the children have seen whatever animal that they need to see today before they go off into the world and accept as part of the thing. One of the things, Amber, I'd love to chat to you about, because you and I both ran remote teams before running remote teams was a sexy thing to do.
Or acceptable things. Like I used to have meetings and they'd be like, what do you mean they're not coming in with you for the meeting? There wasn't that option. And even before Zoom, whatever we used wasn't great. It wasn't fit for purpose. You know what I mean? I think that's the reality.
I remember having conversations with my team and my assistants via Facebook Messenger at that stage in time, because there was no Slack. There was no project managers that would manage it throughout that process. And we did do it before it was acceptable. And I must admit, in COVID, it was like one of the biggest things I was requested from and skill set wise was, can you teach me how to run a remote team? Now, I knew that my team in particular didn't want to do the client facing stuff. When I started hiring, they're like, I don't want to do the client conversations. And I'm like, cool, you don't have to. I will do it for you. What worked for you in running a remote team? And as we said, trust is a big one inside this space.
I think trust and setting expectations early. Like a lot of small businesses, we have a cross-generational team. So, I'm Gen X. I've got staff that are Gen Z, similar era to our children, millennials. They all come with different life experiences, good and bad and in between, right? So you've got to meet them where they're at, but also you've got to also be able to have two-way conversations. And I think that's the key. Like I always say, while I'm the face of the business, you're all part of this business, and it's really important the role you play and you show up when you need to show up. I've obviously, like a lot of people, made hiring mistakes, collaborative mistakes, people that don't have the same values alignment, which is probably a very overused term, but I think we just know now with our gut feeling after being in business for so long. Some people are great on paper, don't have those skills. They don't know how to pitch to a journalist. They hate using the phone. There's all these things, which I just have those conversations really early. And I probably have team members that have been with me for a relatively long time because it takes a while to get that chemistry right. But then they got the flexibility to do other things and not have to travel into the city all the time as well. So yeah, I think it's really been a learning curve. And like you, I didn't come from an entrepreneurial family. I didn't have those mentors. I had to find those mentors.
Yeah.
It was a lot harder, I think, than someone who's grown up with a lot of that, a lot of those life lessons about cash flow and money and profit and all the bits. I was a business journo, but I hated maths. I had to get good at that.
Yeah.
So I think it's just about understanding where the market's at and what skills everyone brings.
Clive, do you want to add something into that one, following in from what Amber just said?
The thing I noticed through the years, Amber, about people hiring and so on, is too often people look for someone with skills akin to a particular industry. Ideally, we want to find somebody who's passionate about delivering whatever the outcome is that the business delivers. And from there, you'll find that, okay, now we have a person with the right attitude. That person will learn whatever skills are necessary. And somewhere we got it wrong. And it's a long time ago because we've been doing it a long time. We keep hiring the wrong people. But when we look for the attitude, more often than not, we get it right. Those people stay longer. They do better work. They're easier to keep going because they're inspired to do whatever it is. You don't need to spend time motivating, and they don't need to spend time wondering where you are. Clear goals, inspiration, work's done.
Yeah, I think that's right. There's things obviously in PR and comms which you need to understand, but you can teach a lot of the finer skills, as I call it. And yeah, hiring sometimes for the right attitude, but also understanding where the gaps are and what you might need to work with them on as well. Like just someone ticking all the boxes often doesn't work for whatever reason. Either that, they've lied on their CV, it's not really what they like doing, they just want the job. But that shows pretty quickly now. That's
the difference, of course, because that's somebody looking for a job rather than looking for something they're inspired to deliver.
Correct. And I'm not going to tell you that, obviously, you ask all the questions. It's a bit robotic interviews. Having said that, even though I'm a remote team, I will always meet them in person before I offer them the job. That would be my other tip. I've flown to Brisbane. A coffee, a walk around the city tells you a lot more than this kind of two-dimensional kind of conversation on Zoom.
Yes, we've become too practiced at that, Amber.
We have. It's easy to see things differently when you're speaking to someone human to human.
And two of our team members have been with us for years. The other thing I would say in that space, one of them approached me. She approached me out of the blue and found my profile. Due to countries, we weren't able to meet face to face.
Yeah.
But she approached me and said, you're busy, you're doing this is how I can help you, blah, 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 et cetera. And she literally wrote her job description for herself.
That's motivating.
And I think that's amazing that, that someone had enough. And at the time, we were maybe not ready to hire, but it was the right person at the right time who came in with a solution to a pain point that we had within the business, which was, how do I take some stuff off my plate and how do people organise a little bit of what I do?
And they're freeing you up. So that's the other thing. My other epiphany that I've learned through a few different business coaches and mentors over the years is everyone in your business has to add to your bottom line, not take from it.
Yep.
So rather than just thinking I'm hiring a VA or an assistant, they're going to manage my inbox, which they'll do, that's fine. But what else can they value add? Can they help you with your LinkedIn DMs? Can they add value because they're putting together your slide decks? Things that would actually add value because they're client related is how I think about people now in my team. So
Yes.
that really changed my brain because I felt like I was just paying all these people. And sometimes I was like, okay, I'm the only rainmaker here. But
Yeah.
I've just shifted that thinking.
And I think for me, it was shifting my thinking of, and even the tools when we talk about AI and the stuff that we use in the business is how much of the investment in that tool, what does it allow me to sit in front of a client and do? What does it allow me to do in client work? And if it allows me to bill more, then chances are it's a no-brainer to a yes, we take that on and we were able to bill. I think, Clive, and this is one thing that I say to my clients very often, and they hate it when I talk to them from a coaching point of view about this. They go, oh, I've hired someone, they're not doing this right. And I'm like, okay, so where did you fail in the instruction? Because we fail in instructions as business owners. We know our stuff. It is second nature into your head. And I'm about to run the CEO webinar after we get off the podcast with Amber today about why you need a CEO day to make sure that you've got clear expectations. But even if you're starting as a team of one, this is my number one tip. Document your processes and procedures so that when you do want to hire someone, it's a lot easier to train them on. But yeah, I'm 100% believer that if someone's made a mistake, it was they didn't know that component was meant to be done. 90% of the time, the error lies with us, the business owner who was giving the instruction, not the person themselves.
Or we might have given it and it's just not been heard in that same way, or there's not a little bit of checking in. There's a lot of nodding of the head and a lot of, yes, I'll go off and do that. And then it's not what we need or want.
Yep, 100%. Okay, he's laughing and got something to tell us on this one. What do you got, Clive?
Oh, yes, clear communication. Far too often, of course, we think that because we said it, it's right and it's understood. We keep forgetting there's this really simple thing that lots of people seem to believe is offensive. Did that make sense to you? And all of a sudden, oh no, I missed point A or point 3 or whatever the devil it was. And you clear it up now, whereas later, okay, now we've got a mountain we have to climb. And perhaps a key for everybody, as soon as you apportion blame, all hope of resolution is lost. So if you keep that in mind, how do you stop having to apportion blame? Get it right the first time. Might not be their fault. Maybe you should have said, is that clear? Give it back to me. Show me what I told you.
Yeah, chunk it down too, like really break. Even when I've onboarded staff, I've become better at it because I must admit, managing people is not my favorite part of running a business. But I've had to just, rather than just loading them up and having them say yes to everything, just taking the time to really go, okay, today we're going to work on this. Come back to me at 3 o'clock. Let's have a quick chat about how that went, rather than here's a whole campaign, go for it, because it doesn't work.
And if we're really honest, here's a whole campaign, even for you and I, is still a little bit overwhelming of, okay, so
exactly.
what components do we need here?
Yeah, and they might have done something similar in a different agency or consultancy, but they haven't done it with you. And the way you do it might be completely different.
Absolutely. I've got 2 people who have come in at the moment into our team, and they're both amazing assets to our team, but they have worked in a section of a campaign, not the whole campaign from start to finish. So they're getting to see now, like, why we have a process from start to finish and why we bring in, like, it's not normally just the one person running a campaign. If you happen to be sick this week, as long as our documents and our notes are in place, we can bring someone else in to fill in for you. And if you need that help, one of our longest standing team members had a moment in time where she was not in a great space. And the one thing I would say is we just got to stand by and just make sure we work through this process. Because as business owners, I would say that our team becomes part of our family, even though technically in the world of business that is not appropriate. But our team does become part of our family. They get to know us. They do get protective of us, our kids, and all of those components along the way, just as we do of theirs. So I think it's a really handy thing to be able to pop in and understand that your people are people in the same process.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
So we've been working in this world of PR and comms before, and we've been doing all of these sorts of things. And I've been ranting for the last week again about one press release does not a PR campaign make. And I've got a few clients on our books at the moment who I love dearly. You sent that press release and we didn't get anything from it. I said, timing could have been wrong. We talk about the news cycle as we record this. Our news cycle changed with the mushroom killer verdict that came through on the weekend.
Yeah,
that changed.
Goodness help anyone who tried to pitch like a consumer story this week. You would have just had no chance of getting on Sunrise or any of those programs.
Not even tried.
Yeah, absolutely. Serendipity is, I often call it in PR.
Yep.
There's the magic factor that I can't control all the things. You can have the
Yep.
right campaign, the right media release, fantastic trained spokespeople, great assets like digital assets to share, all that stuff, but sometimes it just doesn't land.
Yep. And I'm holding on one that I know we've got a great video, we've got a great campaign. It will hit the market well, but if I pitched it this week, it would have been dead in the water.
Yeah.
So I think this is most probably one of the things I'd love to ask you a little bit about. We've got lots of business owners who listen to this podcast. They're listening out there. A few of them might be keyboard warriors. And if you are, okay, I get that you're about to come and type some stuff, comments into the comments here. It's nothing I've not seen in the 11 years of running this space. So inside that space, keyboard warrior is one thing. What does the keyboard warrior do to your brand reputation? You know that we run a community of 32,000, so we get to see lots of business owners' comments and posts on a regular basis. But what does it do if a journalist is doing some research, or even you as a PR person is out there looking at their brand reputation? What does that do for someone?
I'm going to say it depends who's writing the comment. And
Yep.
we know with things like bots and trolls and things like that, sometimes it is AI or they're just bot factories doing it.
Yep.
As a journalist, going back to my training, obviously I didn't have that world of online digital social media when I was gathering stories like 25 years ago. But I know from journalists that I've worked with, and I am working with clients, they often will only have a look at the comments, say on whether it be LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok or whatever, if it's attached to someone who they potentially might see as a credible source.
Yep.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah, no, it
random
does.
customer may or may not. Obviously, if it's something like a major cyber hack and there's all these customers jumping on a particular telco's webpage and saying no one's called me back, that's a different conversation. But if it's the telecommunications minister or the minister for information commenting or their team, then that's of more interest to the
Yep.
journo, I think, than just a whole bunch of people piling on, because we all know now what that looks like. And sometimes that moves on pretty quickly too. That's the other
It
thing.
does. It does. Yeah. And I'd be 100% with that. So if someone was looking to take their brand out there, looking to use media and comms as something that they would be running out from the component, what would be a couple of the suggestions that you would make inside this space?
I think find what you are truly the expert at and own that space for a period of time. So by that, I say when we do strategy with clients, don't go, hey, I'm launching this new app and it does this, it tracks your sleep. And then a month later, you're going to launch something else that's completely different. Like get known in the space for one thing for a while. You know what I mean? I think it's easy, particularly when you're working with other entrepreneurs, they have 100 ideas. I get people to be laser focused. And what do you want to be known for the next 6 months, the next 12 months? And all the content supports that, including their socials.
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing that business owners, I work with them when they're in their ideas factory mode. And one of the things that I'll say is, okay, so this project we're going to see through to from start to finish. Okay. Yes, we've got all those other projects, but there is a status in our project manager that's called waiting to start. And we can prioritize them in waiting to start afterwards. But if we don't see the project through to start from finish, and it's the same inside the comm space about being known for what you're known for, then it transitions over that it's a muddy mess and no one has a clue what we need to do or what needs to happen within that project. And I don't think it's just purely comms. We need to be known for what we're known for.
Yeah. And I think it's repurposing content. So people get a piece of earned media. They should be using that, grabs from that, maybe from on their socials for weeks afterwards. Because in the attention deficit economy we live in, how many messages we get a day, don't assume everyone's seen that. Your ideal audience hasn't necessarily watched your TikTok that day or gone on LinkedIn for a few weeks because they're on holidays. So finding ways to really confirm and amplify what you do is really important. People just want to move on. And I think they're wasting opportunities because it's quite hard to get earned media now. If you get a great piece of tier one media, why would you just worry about the day it comes out? There's so much more you could be doing with that.
And I think what we just brought up was I would love to talk to you about the difference between earned media and paid placement.
Of course, I'm using jargon here. So earned media for all the people that are as old as we are is what we traditionally used to call newspapers. Now it's online digital content written by outlets such as Fairfax, Nine newspapers, those sorts of things. And your radio and TV. So that's all what we call commercial outlets. And there's also trade media within that as well. So tier 1 would be all your dailies and everything. Tier 2 would be all your trade publications and podcasts and things like that. And then obviously that sits along with your social media. Social media you control, you make the content, you drive the conversation. Often you're the protagonist of your own story. The difference is with earned media, they have to want you.
Exactly. And I spoke about this last week, so I'm keen to have your opinion on it because the joys of the paid placement and pretending it's earned media. And there has been a rise of that out there. And I'm sure that many of our listeners are getting the same DMs that you and I are getting on the socials right now going,
I'm on the world's top 10 PR companies in the world this week. Did you not know?
I was a top 40 in entrepreneurship today.
For $2,000.
That's our point.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think that's pay to play. I'd always question what the SEO value of that is as well. So even though we've got AI, I'd say search engine optimization still plays a role in the way in which clients find you. So don't just think you don't have to worry about that. It can be an okay advertising platform, but I wouldn't call it media and PR.
No, I call it advertising.
Yeah. And I think once you do it once, you'll get millions of them. That's the thing. A lot of clients have done it before they've come to work with me because they don't know where to start. And they go, oh, I'm in Forbes, whatever. But it's like a division of Forbes. It's the paid thing. And I think it can help have some content on there for you. But if you're not really getting that third-party validation like you do from a journalist, then you've got to question how valuable that $2,000 really is.
That's the one thing that I would say. Most people now are trained to see through it. And I pull out the Times Square billboard photo that everyone pops up on social media. I'm like, yeah, it's stock images. And guys, if you want it, go to Advantage Elements. There is so many of those you can put your own picture on and you don't have to pay anyone else for it. You can jump in there and pay for that along the way. Today, once we finish this podcast, I am going to clip what we've done from our recordings now into short snippets that will go out into our short form. And chances are go out before we actually get the podcast live and published and out there. But that's about repurposing the content. So we use tools like Opus Clip to do that, to take it out and clip it and allow us to make more of that content. But if our client had happened to win an earned media piece and it happened to be on a YouTube channel or something like that, we would use Opus Clip the same way to go, right, we're going to run that through Opus. We're going to clip it out, get the credibility, link it back, especially on YouTube, guys. I'm going to say this to you. Make sure that you link it back to the original video source. So add it back to the related video and credit the publication. Now I'm going to say that a second time, credit the publication who actually produced that content for you, but boost and share it. I know the journalists I work with love nothing more when someone else actually shares, hey, I was on this publication or I was on this podcast with someone. Be a damn good guest.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Even with my latest podcast called Life After the Whistle, I now have a contract, which I didn't have in my first years of podcasting with my guests. You agree to do X, Y, and Z when we release this. You're going to share it on your socials in the week it comes out, not 3 weeks later. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. Because, you know, we're taking the time, like you are today with me, to produce this amazing bit of content. At least promote it, share it in a way which is mutually beneficial for both of us. Same thing with earned media. Thank the journalist. Tag the journalist. Respect paywalls, though. That's the other thing I would definitely say.
Respect paywalls.
If you've got a paywall, so for example, the Financial Review would be one example, the Australian newspaper in Australia, don't copy and paste the whole article into your LinkedIn if it's got a paywall and those people haven't got that. That's how journalists make a living, and I'm very respectful of that.
And that's how the bridge will be burnt. And the other thing that I would say on the living component, ads are how these publications allow you to be able to run a story. If it's meant to be sales orientated and meant to be an ad, place it as an ad.
Yeah.
Don't try and disguise it as PR.
Correct. And the journalists will see through that too. They're not going to pick up on something that's just a total sales pitch.
No. Fantastic. We ask every guest a couple of questions to round this podcast up. Clive, do you want to do the questions?
Yes, I've been thinking about it all the time because we got into talking about being a person, being a human and having human moments earlier. So now we'll do, is it coffee, tea, or something else?
I love a coffee in the morning. I have 2 coffees. I have a soy flat white, now you've asked, and then I have an espresso around about now, just before this pod, and that's it for me for the day.
As we drive through New South Wales next, Clive.
Why do we do different styles?
No, 2 different styles. So I have the morning coffee, that's the softener, and then the espresso is just the hit, and then, but it always has to be before midday. So there you go. Aren't you glad you asked?
Welcome to the world of PR, Clive.
Which leads us to the next one. Are you an early bird or a night owl? Or can
early
you do a
bird.
bit of both?
Early bird, always. Love it. Love the morning, love the day. Even in winter, I'll get up early and exercise. And yeah, I do generally like to be in bed fairly early. And I think I've always been like that. I think it's obviously easier when you get older, but definitely feel like the day is my thing.
Very good. What book are you currently reading and why can't you put it down?
I have 3 books on the go, so I'll have to choose one. That just shows you my brain. I
No, tell us about
often
all
have a
three.
political book. Douglas Murray's book about democracy and Hamas and the West is very interesting. He's a fantastic writer and a historian in some ways and journalist. So that's my kind of hard-hitting thing. I'm also reading, for anyone who's of Gen X will probably know, Ione Skye was a bit of a 90s it girl. I'm reading her memoir, Say Everything, which is fantastic and she's a beautiful writer. And then I also have a 3rd book going, which I'm not really loving, which is going to be very controversial, maybe because I've heard about it too much. It's the Mel Robbins book, which everyone's going on about, but I must admit, I don't love it. So I think I've skimmed through it. Not for me.
Is that the green one?
Yeah, I can't, the title of it, it's called? Let Them.
It took me the first 2 chapters to actually get into it. Had to get past it.
I'm skim reading that. I'm seeing it more like a guidebook, and probably because I've heard Mel, who's fabulous on podcast, do a few things. Maybe I just know too much. And so it's nothing to do with her, but it's just not really for me.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree because it took me a while to get through it. And if I wasn't on a plane, I wouldn't have read the first 2 chapters. I would have most probably put it down for the same reasons. I know Mel on the podcast. I think she's great and I love her through all of those areas. And it's most probably delivered to me in a different format.
And what one word would you use to describe your journey so far?
Tenacious. There's no way in business you cannot be.
And for the benefit of our listeners, if you can see the face, you know tenacity is right there. It's written right across it.
There you go, for anyone watching at home.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Amber, can you let our audience know where they can find you and what type of people you work with if they're interested in following up from today's podcast? We've had a very human-looking business, but I'd love for them to be able to connect with you.
Sure. Pretty simple. It's amberdaines.com, and that's Daines with an I, unlike Claire Danes, the actress. So amberdaines.com has all my bits on it. We work with small businesses and corporates and everyone in between. So anyone needs comms skills training, that's our sweet spot. But we see ourselves as a reputation agency rather than a PR agency, and we love to work with smart people.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. It has been a pleasure to watch your journey from the sidelines as our children have grown up throughout their babies to teen years where we are right now. I would just like to say, for anyone looking for that reputation management component, looking for media training, Amber is one of the few people in the industry that I recommend. Love doing what I do, but I do love being at the startup phase of business and working with those businesses through those phases. So I would love to say to you, if you're looking for that really deep PR comms training for your team, this is the lady who's going to make it not only accessible for you, but make it so that you can understand it and your team will understand it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Amber, for joining us. Clive, you got any final words?
Yes, lovely to see that you have been here for a couple of decades, and greater to see that you're excited about what's coming up, and lovely to hear all the messages of what you've learned along the way, which can hopefully benefit our listeners. And I recommend everybody listen to the podcast because they are real people having journeys that are real, the past, the present, the future. It's all about finding out what's going to make it easier for you. And that's why Amber and others come on this podcast, to try and help you overcome some of the difficulties they might have had difficulty with. So thank you, Amber.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Okay, guys, thank you for listening to the Business Owners Podcast. I'm going to challenge everyone listening today to leave us a comment and a tip in the threads about either running a remote team, running a business around your babies, or communicating to your team members, and pop the tips in because your tips help us share, connect, and learn and grow and do together, which is what business was founded on 11-something years ago. Okay, until next time, happy listening and make sure you connect with Amber.
Thanks for listening to the Business Owners Podcast. We encourage you to connect with us on social media and join our community of business owners at businessbusinessbusiness.com.au.
Ever see an idea so clearly in your head, but struggle to make it real? We've all been there. With Wix, you can build a website for your business just the way you pictured it. Get the best of both worlds with AI and drag-and-drop tools all in one place. Stay in your creative flow and use AI when you want, how you want. Create a website your way. Try it out at Wix.com.
High-interest debt is one of the toughest opponents you'll face. Unless you power up with a SoFi personal loan. A SoFi personal loan could repackage your bad debt into one low fixed-rate monthly payment. It's even got super speed, since you could get the funds as soon as the same day you sign. Visit SoFi.com/power to learn more. That's SoFi.com/POWER. Loans originated by SoFi Bank N.A. Member FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. NMLS 696891.